Welcome, everyone. I'm Brian Pereira, and you are listening to another episode on Tech That. For the past decade, enterprise strategy has run on a single unchallenged assumption: more software equals more capability. Every function, marketing especially, built its own tech stack, its own dashboard, and hence its own silo. While individual productivity went up, organizational coherence dissolved because of this fragmentation. Context was lost between the numerous tools that we have been using. Today, we are seeing two responses to this problem. The first is adding an AI layer on top of existing software. But no, that does not solve the problem of incoherence. The second is a total paradigm shift, removing the pile altogether in favor of agentic, outcome driven canvas. Joining us today is Mr. Harjiv Singh, who is the founder and CEO of CambrianEdge AI. Harjiv, welcome.
Thank you, and good morning.
In my introduction, I mentioned the problem with traditional marketing and the tool fragmentation. You advocate for replacing the app pile with a single composable canvas. Harjiv, paint us a picture. What does a Tuesday morning look like for a marketing team using Cameron Edge compared to a single team juggling traditional MarTech stack?
I think you gave a great summary of where the world of MarTech was, right?
Thank
And
you.
I've done that for nearly 2+ decades, building and running Gutenberg, which is a global marketing integrated agency across 7 countries. One of the challenges of that era is that you have amazingly creative people in the world of marketing who were actually spending a lot of time juggling tools, right? So I'll give you an example. If I had a client out of New York who had a team in London and one in India, I would have to get on a call and they would say, hey, we want to run a digital campaign in all 3 countries. Can you guys cook up a campaign for us? So that typically entailed bringing my team from the 3 countries together and understanding sort of whatever the work we had done, put a brief, whatever we got from the client, and decode that. Now imagine just collapsing that one part, a call that then people would have to go research all of those things and bring it back on a single shareable prompt with that entire team. So you get off the ground, say, if not days, at least 3 to 5 days on average. That entire process was never synchronous. It was always asynchronous because you would discuss, do the research, and then come back. Today, you can do that together in one go, right? And so that composable canvas, when we talk about it, the way we thought about the building of the product was from all of these gaps, or what I call the MarTech tax, because the software was a technological solution for the world we lived in. You can create your collateral. So you could do campaign call to actions. You could create the images. You could create the videos on the same canvas that we have built. You could then distribute it, which required tools like Hootsuite, or you would go plug it into ads in Meta, Google, all of those places right from the same canvas. And then also create video ads if you wanted to. And then the most important part always, which in the pre-AI era, to get the analytics was a few weeks before you were able to start getting information. Imagine you get that now real time. The work of doing marketing, I have now realized, is actually as creative as it was always meant to be. That did not exist till we built CambrianEdge.ai.
Wow, fantastic. And I believe that you tried it out on Gutenberg. So
Yes.
can you tell us a bit about Gutenberg and what kind of transformation did you lead there and what were the results at Gutenberg?
So that's one of the questions I spend a lot of time explaining to the world, because having spent 20 years running a global services business in integrated marketing across multiple countries, our biggest challenge was nothing happens synchronously, right? The technology is not the problem, it is the people. And having taken an entire team globally through that process of understanding what is AI literacy and what is AI fluency. And I can tell you the ROI on that is phenomenally powerful. Yeah, I'm here with my team for 2 days on our annual kind of retreat to really see how we've moved in that transformation as a product, but more importantly, as how the services side is now got this capability that we not only have velocity in the work we do, but we also have more depth in our research and our ability to be more creative because of the time we save. Oftentimes, people are looking at AI as only a time saver. That's really not the value added version of what you can do with this. What you can do with this is if I could do 10x of that, because I can have multiple iterations in a single sitting with my team, and then we could actually focus on analyzing the creative part of that rather than the sort of I got to log into a different tool. I got to go to Figma or Canva, or I got to go figure out how to write a video script, find a script writer to help me do that. You can do pretty much everything. You can bring everybody together and work in a collaborative fashion. Because if I onboard 100 people on, say, Claude or Chat GPT, they're going to work in silos. They're not working on a collaborative platform. And so you are isolating the ROI within an individual rather than bringing them together and working on something like CambrianEdge.ai, where the silos are broken because they all work together. Different teams can have their own workspaces, share all the stuff that they built so it can be handed off seamlessly. I think the most powerful part of that is the analytics, because you can get that fairly quickly on that single composable canvas.
Great. What I'm picking up from that is the tremendous amount of integration, and the context isn't lost. It's solving a huge problem that we have been struggling with for decades. Now,
Yes.
one of the most striking aspects of your model is shifting focus from outcome accountability.
Yes.
Harjiv, how do agents operate across functions when they are bound by a goal, say launching a campaign, rather than restricting it to a single app's feature set?
I think the way to think about it is if you are an AI native company, one of the advantages is you could have, say, a content team, a PR team, a digital campaign team, and a video team working simultaneously on the same platform to allow you to either work collaboratively or within your teams collaboratively as well. And you can bring all of that together for presentations. You could do a whole variety of things that required you to do this individually, right? So that is in itself a very powerful thing because, as you rightly said, you could do multiple things with the power of the agentic layer. And in our agentic layer, one of the things we have built is you've got skills that you could code in. So if I'm an agency or I'm a large enterprise marketing team spread across the world, I might have nuances in my brand book, my brand guidelines. So everything starts from a fundamental truth, like any client that comes on board, they share the same brand guidelines across the workspaces. So you never actually deviate because I have seen this happen for 20 plus years. We would have a PowerPoint that came from the New York office to something in the London office that looked completely different, right? Because as humans, keeping things governed is hard. We're creative. We're the reason the world is how it is. It's a little messy. The agentic layer actually helps us clean up the mess that we create, but more powerfully allows us to do the creativity at a level that was absolutely impossible before.
Now, you mentioned humans, and that reminds me of the human and AI collaboration, the augmentation that's happening, and everyone talks about that. CambrianEdge.ai is explicitly built around human plus AI intelligence, not total automation. Where exactly does human intuition, strategic oversight, and creativity fit once autonomous agents take over the cross functional execution?
So my belief and our team's belief has been, and we've seen this in practice over the last 4 years that we've been building the product, is intelligence is human. That's our sort of tagline, because without that intelligence, you would have no artificial intelligence. What we keep in the mix here is every team that works on our platform, on the Cambrian Edge platform, the final decision maker is the human, because there are three things the humans bring that agents can't, which is judgment, experience, and taste. I'll give you examples. I work a lot in building up stuff from the ground. And while the nature of the generative AI technology is it can generate brilliantly sounding answers right off the bat. But because of my experience of 30 plus years in the industry, I can tell in an instant that this was AI generated, even within my teams, because there is a tension we are all struggling with, right? I can get stuff done very fast. That velocity is phenomenal. but it still requires human judgment. And I see this.
Okay, and I assume that the solution allows a human to step in and handle error correction, right? When the agent's multi-step plan goes astray.
I was testing something out. We pay a large subscription to a company called Muckrack in the US. Used to, now I don't, but back then my team, the PR team, used to subscribe to it. And it was basically a database of journalists. I was just peeved that I was paying $18,000 a year for something that was not totally updated on a regular basis. So we created an internal tool that I created because that was my experience of building with agents, something called Serenity.ai, that it would not frustrate me. It will give me a serenity mode to look for journalists and names around the world and analysts.
So, Harjiv, most CFOs would wonder about the costing of the solution. Now, how does a SaaS pricing ownership model compare with this kind of agent-led way of working, agent-led solution on the pricing front?
Yes, I think every company is trying to, at least the AI native ones are trying to figure out. The SaaS companies have to figure this out. The one big difference is the SaaS companies sold a seat. The problem is agents don't sit. They work 24/7. They're autonomous a lot of times. Now, you should have the ability to understand what's in there, which is pretty much all of that and more. And how do you then, as a CFO, decide, okay, am I giving a tool or am I adding intelligence to my team? And am I giving them the ability, which is the AI literacy to fluency part, to unlock a potentiality that was always in there, but never actually allowed us to go into the power of how you harness that within each human, within each team member. And that's why if you look at the ROI metrics in the last 2 years since AI came out, there are three very important pieces that were missing. The lack of training on how to use AI. Second, not a detailed spend on AI literacy. I don't hear any HR folks being involved in these large deployments. Why is that not part of the conversation? Because you have to shift the human behavior more importantly than just shifting or just giving a tool that people access. And the third thing, which is very important, is your imagination as a CFO, as a leadership team of what this can do for your business. I talk to a lot of large organizations, mid-sized organizations, startups. The larger organizations are struggling with this, partly because if the top person is not using this every day to understand what this is, it is very hard for them to get it deployed effectively across the company. Those are the three things that are important because the ROI everybody gets. There's a reason why there's trillions of dollars being invested across the world, especially in the US and in China, because they see what this can do. I think other countries are a little behind in the curve. I think we need to do a lot of work on that.
And one final question: what does a CMO or Chief Marketing Officer take away from this conversation, and what can he apply on Monday?
A CMO that is invested in ensuring that their work has the power of 100 marketing PhDs and the capability of deploying and distributing stuff at velocity, but with intelligence. All they have to do is log in with their team. The platform is like a plug and play.
Harjiv, thank you for challenging the assumption that more software equals more capability, and for showing us what work looks like when we trade app files for unified, outcome driven agency. It was wonderful to have you with us here today, sharing your insights and talking about this wonderful innovation. Harjiv?
Thank you for having me, and a pleasure to chat with you about this because I live this every day and I love it. And I hope others get the bug I've gotten on AI native marketing platforms.
You were just listening to Harjiv Singh, the founder and CEO of CambrianEdge.ai. This is your host, Brian Pereira, signing out. Take care, everyone, and see you on the next episode.